Hello again. Welcome back to the 2023 season review by the Don Pod. I'm Sam. I am again joined by the wonderful co-host that is Nathan. Hello again, Nathan. How are you since we last spoke?
Excellent. I'm excellent. Thanks, Sam. How are you?
I'm great. We'll give the illusion that this is totally not 3 minutes after part one.
It's not.
Should have changed my jumper or something, but you know.
I did think about putting a shirt on.
I thought about it too, but who really cares?
If you know me well, you know I wear a lot of black t-shirts, so you could be confused.
Well, I thought your t-shirt you were wearing in part one was blue, so there you go.
Okay, this is how much you're noticing stuff.
You fooled me, at the very least. As I say, welcome back to part two. We'll look at number 19, Nick Hind, all the way down to number 1, Andrew McGrath. Still not having a good day with my first names. We'll end with some season 2024 predictions, and we're going to start with the coveted Don Pod Best and Fairest.
Woo, woo, woo.
Now,
are we still getting them to come around to our house and have that party like we did last couple of years? Yeah,
the top three.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
In part one, if I can remember correctly, you predicted Nathan. You are Nathan. Zach Merrett. to win the Best and Fairest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go for dramatic effect from third place up.
Ooh, I like that. Nice.
So, in third place, recently signed a 5-year deal.
Beautiful.
Darcy Parish.
Woohoo!
Culmination
DP3.
between yourself and me. 5 best on grounds, 6 2-vote performances, and 2 1-vote performances for a total of 29 votes.
Awesome. Great player.
This is otherwise known as the Brownlow 2.0, just so you know.
Pumped to have him at the club for another 5 years.
Second place, and I wish we'd sort of done this so we could talk about it when we talked about the player. With 9 best on grounds, 4 2 votes, and 4 1 votes. Is Nick Rusty Martin.
Woohoo! Rust Dog.
That's amazing to me.
Second year player. Yeah.
That's us judging it game by game, going, he was that good across the season. He's just,
and I'm pretty confident saying he'll be top 3 in the actual Essendon Best and Fairest. So I feel like that he will poll very well.
Yeah, I agree. And in first place, it will come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. The captain, Zach Merrett.
Third time All-Australian. 12 best on ground performances as adjudged by the two of us, 5 performances of 2 votes and 2 lots of 1 vote. What I will say is actually who finished in 4th place, Kyle Langford. And again, we're pretty spot on here.
Can I tell you, he did not get a single 3 vote from us.
Oh.
He did not get a best on ground, but he got 5 second bests.
Yeah.
And 8 third bests.
That's again where we rate guys that kick goals. To be honest, like guys that kick goals, I don't overly rate compared to guys that defend well and guys that get the ball.
And ruck. We know you like your ruckman.
Ruckman. Now, here's an interesting little anecdote to the Zach Merrett situation for his All-Australian. I was looking at Twitter the other day, Wednesday apparently. Oh, maybe it was Thursday, Wednesday night. And I saw captain All-Australian Zach Merrett, and I went, oh my God, he's been named in the All-Australian and he's a captain of the Australian.
Yeah, no, captain of Essendon.
Yeah, and I was like, and I had to like read it, and then I went to the All-Australian team and went, oh no, he's just on the bench.
Did you not think that he probably wasn't captain material? I mean, he's very good.
I thought, geez, he's had a good year as captain.
I will say,
All-Australian captain.
Very happy with Toby Green being named the captain. If we
I love
just
Toby Green.
Digress a little bit there. That was a great call from
Massive fan of Toby Green. More players should be like the way he goes about it.
Yeah, great player.
Absolute prick, but just brilliantly talented.
Very. All right, that is the Don Pod B&F done for the year. Well done, Zachy. We'll try and, you got the invite anyway. It's on you to contact us now. So
I'll ring him. I'll have a quick chat to Zachy. Right. He's a great bloke. Loves a beer.
Sounds good. Right, straight back into the reviews then. I need to switch my little tab back there. A lot of spreadsheets running a podcast. Who would have thought it?
I've got one going on.
Number 9, is that the one I sent you? Though?
Yep.
Yeah, funny about that.
Shut up. Don't ruin it for me.
Number 19, Nicholas Hind, played 16 games, which again is somewhat surprising to me. Averaged 18 disposals at 78%,
3.3 intercept possessions a game, 3 goals for the season, and loses 36.4% of his 0.7 defensive one-on-ones. Again, bit of a shit stat when it comes to small defenders.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you start because I feel like I did a bit of that in the first one.
Well, so basically his last 5 games, he was averaging 20 plus touches. And his earlier probably 4 or 5 games, he was below that number by a fair bit. I'd say more 15 touches. His best game was against West Coast, where he had 31. He's above average in kicks. He's below average in handballs and tackles, which is concerning. He's also average in meters gained. Strengths, his pace and ball carrying, but also weakness.
Strength, ball carrying and pace.
Ball carrying, pace.
He falls over.
He's
He just goes too
quickest
quick.
man in the world when he's got the ball. He's the slowest man in the world when he's chasing someone.
And he's too quick when he's got the footy. His little legs go faster than his brain can keep up with.
His brain cannot keep up with whatever else is going on.
I think.
Look, there's a lot to like about Nick Hind, but there's also some real frustrations about him. He's 29, so he's probably. Well,
you said it about Heppel, where he's replaceable in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
In that, if he wasn't in the side, if there was someone a little bit better and Hind was the sort of backup, then I think we'd be in a better position. But I don't mind what Hind does. I get frustrated as shit when he tries to bounce it and just falls on his face. But
it's amazing. It does that.
I like what he brings to the table, but I reckon we have enough of that in Redmond, sort of, that rebound. Yes, he carries the ball a lot further, but...
And I'd go back to the Mass and the D'Ambrosio conversation too, the Mass, saying that I would have thought maybe this year at some stage he might have passed Hind for that importance, but it didn't happen, so...
No. I'll give him a 5. Bless you. You just sort yourself out there, champion.
A couple of sneezes, I'm all right.
I'll give him a 5, I think, right in the middle.
Yeah, I'll probably go like a 6.5, to be honest.
All right, show me up, why don't you? Are you okay?
Sorry, just a bit of hay fever. It's hit.
That's okay. All right, moving on to the kid. Archie Perkins. Nearly called him Darcy. Archie Perkins. I was looking at you as if you were going to talk then. 23 games of football, played every single game. Only one to do it other than the other 4. And 3 tackles a game, 15 disposals, 67% efficiency, and 18 goals. Probably, it was a weird season for him. I think he played directly on Cripps in that game against Carlton and very much broke even, or was actually better than Cripps on the day. Had that a couple of times where he got the lockdown sort of role. Other times where he was sort of half forward, mid, but nowhere sort of thing. Questioned at times his decision-making earlier in the year. I thought he just chucked it on the boot when there was the slightest bit of pressure.
Yep.
But for a guy in his 3rd season of football, he's now played like 65, 70 games. So
he hasn't missed many.
Yeah, getting good numbers into him.
21, 18 and 23, yeah. So he's only missed a few games of footy in his first 3 years.
The moment that stands out to me that I love, and that we talk about looking for those little moments in younger players.
Yep.
Anzac Day, him and Stringer tackled Johnny Noble and got a holding the ball, and it was on for young and old over who took the kick.
Yeah.
Perko got the first bit of the tackle, but Jake really finished the tackle, so it could have gone either way. Perkins took it, absolutely monster kick from 55, dobbed it, and in front of 95,000 people to have the balls to just say, nah, it's my kick, Jake, and then nail it. Incredibly skillful player. Probably still with a bit to learn.
Yeah, a bit of a polarizing sort of player, Exodus, and there's a lot that don't really like what he's doing and don't like the way he's going. For me, interesting thing about him is that this year he had all his best numbers. So he had his highest possession game against Adelaide. He had his highest kick game. He had his highest mark game, his highest goal game. So 3 goals against Hawthorn. So all those sort of happened this year, which to me says So he's hit year 3. He's had some really good numbers, building strongly. He played a lot more midfield sort of after guys like Setterfield and Shiel were out, so that they were moving him into that more role, like you were talking about with Cripps and stuff like that.
Yep.
I understand the knock on him. Like he's a bit laconic. He's a bit. Sometimes you're like, where is he? You don't. He's not a high possession player.
Yep, correct. Doesn't have to be though. That's not a requirement in footy.
100%. Not all players have to get 35 touches. Like they have to influence the game. So yeah.
We agree that
I'm happy with him. He's
plenty of talent, right? Like there's a heap there. And for a third-year player, we're probably just seeing a little bit of inconsistency still, which is fine. That's okay.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see it's a big year next year, I guess. What I will say is that I'm happy with where he's at the moment, but what Essendon has had trouble with is development. And a guy like him cannot now get it. He has to still get a lot better. So he has to become a match winner. I think, like he has to kick 3 or 4 goals in a game, take some really good marks, and influence games. That's what I want to see next year. If that doesn't start to happen, I'll be concerned that this is all he is. And if that's all he is, then
still
he's
probably
not the world's best pick or pick 8, or whatever he was.
Yeah, I'd say over the next 2 years, we probably want to see the real trajectory.
Yep. But there's certainly next year has to be, again, another improvement. Like those numbers we just talked about, best year, and he has to do that again next year. He has to have more possessions, kick more goals.
Yeah, keep improving. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Because I think that my concern is that with a lot of players that they stagnate very quickly. Yes. And Nick Martin's one that we know is not doing that. He's had 2 great years to start his career off, and he's flying. So
special case though, Marto.
Yeah, and there's going to be a point where you plateau. I mean,
to continue on with my stupidly inconsistent ratings, I'll give Perko 6.5.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
A little bit better than average.
But not certainly some games he was very good, but other games he was not seen. So.
Yep. Fair enough. Moving on then to my favourite.
No one's favourite. But actually, I'm sure he's a lot of people's favourites.
I want to Jayden Laverde is who we're talking about for reference. One of the guys that runs the Facebook page went to school with Laverde, and I hang shit on him quite a lot because he's quite friendly towards young Jayden.
Jado?
We argue a lot. So Jace, if you're listening, sorry. 19 games of football. I mean, the numbers, 15.8 disposals, finished the season with about 35 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, in the last game, yeah.
Nearly 88% efficiency, kicked a goal at some point during the season, has 2.2 on average defensive one-on-ones and wins 21% of them. Sorry, loses 21% of them. My apologies.
Yep.
So actually better in the one-on-one compared to BZT, but isn't getting that super-duper big number one forward.
No, he gets strange matchups. Like the Collingwood game he had, and it's fascinating, the Collingwood game, because he had his most possessions, but I thought he was beaten by all his opponents. So Jamie Elliott, I thought was his early opponent. Like I saw him a few times running around near him.
Yep.
And Elliott had been very damaging in that first quarter, very damaging. And then his sort of second half, he was more
my check.
My check. And my check was very influential too. I thought he probably could have kicked a few more goals. So
I said it about BZT, and I'll say it similarly about Laverde, although I think it's a little bit different. Victim of circumstance.
Yep.
At 191 or whatever he is, he's probably not meant to be.
He's not big enough to play, is it? Yeah.
I don't. Again, we talked about it earlier. I don't see him as being that option.
No.
I don't think he's a terrible footballer.
Yep.
Necessarily, but I just don't think
he needs to be phased out. And as we talked about, that he needs to be replaced by. So we talked about with Mackay. If Mackay, the rumor, he's Sydney are into him.
We're in the conversation at the least.
Yeah, we're in the conversations, and I know that we don't want to overs, which I think is really practical, because if we pay overs and that triggers their
the
first round pick, that takes a pick off us, which is really practical. I think that's practical. I think that if they get, say, well, they got 2 and 2 at the moment. So if they got 2 and 3 because of this, well, that means we get pushed out to 9, which you think,
I think the problem with that is that if we don't go there, Sydney will. Or
Sydney
Port
will.
Someone will.
Yeah, you're right. And that's, but I guess we can't control that. I think that what Essendon would be thinking is that then now we're starting to think, well, is he worth a first round pick? Because that's basically what they're getting for him. That it affects us, which I can see why Essendon be like, no, well, let's just try and sell him. And Essendon's always, when you think about too, like there's been a lot of conversations about our draft person and our draft team, but Essendon's always, except for probably Shiel, I would feel like we haven't paid a lot of overs for guys. Shiel, I think 2 first rounds with what he's produced. At the time, he was nearly was he all Australian or he'd been?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. So I could get that. But when you see in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, with what he's done at the club, you're like, well, he wasn't supposed to.
Even Devon Smith.
Yeah.
That first season we got out of Dev, he was worth every penny. But then, so yeah.
Never anything again.
Hindsight's beautiful.
Yeah, whereas a lot of other clubs have done pretty good deals too to get, good players. Whereas.
So on Laverde,
yeah.
do you, round 1 next year,
No.
EZT goes
and
we get Mackay. Just as an example.
Yep.
Is Laverde in that team?
For me, no, but that's no.
No. Okay, fair enough. I can't stand some of his decision making.
He's a free kick factory. I'd love to know his numbers on free kicks against. Like
and then gets up and whinges because.
Yeah, what was that for? I just pushed him over.
I can tell you his free kicks against actually.
And what I find too is a lot of it, I think he gets away. Like I want, that should be a free kick. Like what I want. He's lucky there. Like he's chopped his arms or he's smashed into a guy who's, like. And I think, geez. And I think you get that set about players when you're watching them, you don't like them. You think, how do you get away with that? Just like the opposite.
Can you give a rating?
3. I mean, he tries.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
He's better than Kelly.
Less than 1 free kick against a game.
Yeah, so there you go. What would I know?
But he gets up and just complains for no reason. That's what bugs me.
What did you want to give him?
What did you say?
3?
2.5. Just to be a dick. Next on the list is polar opposite, Jordan Ridley. Injured against the Bulldogs, managed 17 games before that. 20 disposals a game at 91% efficiency. Thank you very much.
Interception king.
5.8 intercept possessions per game. Did kick a goal against Hawthorn in round 1, if you remember that. First goal in footy for Riddles. Average is 2.4 defensive one-on-ones per game, slightly above Laverde. And loses 22% of them, which again is slightly more Lav. But different roles, I would say, between the two. I'm more interested in that stat for the super tools.
Yeah, so
possibly more so than.
So Laverde at intercept marks like is 1.6, whereas Ridley's is 2.3. Now that's not a big number change, but that's
over 23 games. It is.
It's substantial, and I think that's the difference. And of course, there's a couple of centimeters difference, but again, Ridley not only does he mark the ball, but he kicks the ball very well too. Like I imagine his numbers, how he uses the ball for us is very important. He's the guy that, for one, kick-ins, like you notice that after he went out of the team, and I would argue there was a point where at the halfway mark where Draper and Setterfield went out of the team, and I thought we got worse. When he went out, I thought there was another massive step out because he was, because he does the kick-ins, which when it was handed to Hind, oh my God.
Yeah, at least it wasn't Team English though, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We weren't giving it to Draper.
But that's another strength of his, is his kick-in decisions.
He's probably the best footballer in that back six. Marking, kicking, awareness.
All round, all the skills. Yeah. Well, he was All-Australian.
No, best and fairest.
He was 40 in the 40 a few years ago.
He won the best and fairest in 2020.
So we need to get him back to that page. 24-year-old, we need to get him back into best form.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, he would have, at that, whenever he got injured, he'd be probably top 5 best and fairest, I imagine.
Yeah.
So rating out of 10, please.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll go an 8.
8, okay. Nick Cox is next.
That's big Cox.
Yes, he's big. He's 2 metres tall, if you weren't aware.
2 metres nickel, 2 metre
2 metre Nick.
don't matter.
Big dick. Played 6 games all at the end of the season, coming back off injury. Couple of tackles a game, 11 disposals, nearly 12, 77% efficiency, 4.3 intercept, which is quite high compared to some others. Still really seemed like we were trying to figure out what to do with him, which I'm completely fine with. He played pretty much everywhere in the VFL before coming into the AFL. Looked like we sort of settled on defender. Then he ended up back on the wing, and then he ended up back in defence. Personally, I didn't mind him as a defender.
Yep.
He dropped a couple of chest marks. There were 1 or 2 occasions where he just kind of sputtered that up.
Against the other Cox.
Yep, that's right. It was a bit of a cock off.
Nice one, Sammy.
Shouldn't laugh at my own jokes. That's terrible.
Cock off.
But he, I don't know, in the space of maybe 2 or 3 weeks, he went from going, oh, geez, he's a bit undersized, to he held his own.
Yep.
He looked okay. He looked okay on the wing too, to be fair, but I think the whole robbing Peter to pay Paul thing, you're taking off 2 very capable wingers in Martin and Durham to put Kelly and Cox. Like it just didn't make any sense. Happy with the development, happy that we're still trying him in different places, happy with him as a player. 7 out of 10. 6 out of 10.
Probably less for me. But so the knock on him for me is he's a bit timid. Again, he's only a fairly light frame, but he's been in the system now 3 years. Been 200 centimetres, 94 kilos, I'll tell you what, but he's probably, and I don't know what weight he'll finish at, but he needs to find a way just to be a little bit more courageous over the ball.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
His skills aren't as brilliant as they sold us when he was selected, because sometimes he really could kick some bad balls. Like
I think he's victim of taking on a bit too much sometimes too.
I liked him as a defender because he worked out really quickly that he didn't need to body up against guys because he's got the go gadget arms.
Yep.
He could just stand behind them and punch. And that worked a lot of the times. And I thought this could be a role for him because he sees the ball coming at him nicely. He looks like the sort of guy that, can run away and, do some nice things there. He's pretty good below his knees for a guy as tall as he is. I didn't mind it. I still think there's a lot of work on him. I'd probably put him more close to a 5, to be honest. I think
that's fine. Not
a great year. None of his stats were good. Like he didn't have good games. But what's interesting, so last year he played the first 5 or 6, got injured, and then this year he played the last 5 or 6. So
and didn't get injured.
And then he came out of a COVID era under 18s competition. So he hasn't played a lot of footy in the last 3 years.
Yep. Fair enough.
I'm going to give him a bit of a pass, 5 or 6, and then hope big preseason, big year next year.
Yeah, very good. I lowered mine to a 6 for what it's worth.
Yeah, fair enough.
Before peer pressure. Now, one I'm really looking forward to talking about is the cricketer, because he sets a field. Will Setterfield. That's how I had to remind Nathan what his name was, because he forgot.
What did I keep calling him?
I don't know, but it wasn't Setterfield. Played 10 games, 20 touches on average, 6 tackles, just below 70% efficiency, and a couple of goals. We kicked a goal in each of the first 2 games, and that was it. An average of 3 clearances as well.
Yep.
Which is about average. Basically 1 centre clearance, 2 stoppage clearance.
Yep. He's elite in tackles, and above average in tackles and above average in marks.
Yeah. So this will probably be a little bit long-winded.
Yep, go.
Because, as I said, I went back and I watched some earlier season football because I wanted to get full picture. I didn't want to be sitting here all negative Nancy just because we lost a couple of games poorly. Watching the third quarter of Anzac Day, Setterfield and Shiel as well, who we'll get to, massive impacts on that game of football. Ultimately, we lost, but in that third quarter where we kicked, I think, 5-1, huge. So I've got some numbers on Setterfield's early season form. So round 1 against Hawthorn, 25 touches, 8 score involvements, 6 tackles and a goal.
Yep.
Round 2 versus Gold Coast, 28 touches, 5 clearances, 11 score involvements and a goal.
Mm-hmm.
round, I think, 5 against Melbourne, 19 touches, 4 clearances, 10 tackles in the wet.
Yep.
And then Anzac Day, 22 touches, 2 clearances, and 5 tackles. A little bit lower, but just still solid numbers, solid clearances, solid tackles. And he went out of that team, I think we'd lost 3 in a row.
Yep, 4.
And then came back for 1 at the end, and shock horror, had 10 tackles.
Yep.
So, positive, silver lining, if you want, of him going out was Hobbs, Caldwell. All got time, got minutes in the midfield. Downside, they lost a defensive midfielder to protect them.
Yep.
I mean, the GWS game was so one-sided, it's not funny. But you look at like the Fremantle game, Port, even in the rain at the MCG, the Collingwood game, the last one, Setters was a big out. There was a big gap to fill a 194-centimetre tackling midfielder.
Yeah, and that 25 age bracket, like experience, played a lot of footy, a lot of VFL, a lot of, sort of senior footy. So you're right.
And I forgot he existed. Like, he kept coming up in the injury. Oh, shit, Setterfield, Jesus. But you look at those numbers and you go, far out, we missed that. We missed that player, that output a lot.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think he was a big out for us at that point because of what he was already brought. You talk about those early games. He was really influential in those early games of being taking the heat as well as tackling as well as spreading. His spread marks was really important.
Mm-hmm.
He got out to the wings and gave options, and that's experience because he knows what he needs to do. Whereas the young kids, and would have been a different year if he'd played all games, and then you could have rotated Hobbs and Perkins and those guys in through to help. Well,
I think that's the flip side. We certainly wouldn't have seen
because he could have gone forward and been probably a bit of a threat.
Well, you can't kick a goal, Setters, but anyway. That's the trade-off.
The rest of them
is if Setterfield had played every game, Hobbs probably wouldn't have got the look he got. So you take it.
Yeah.
But I think we as in me and you certainly forgot the impact that Setterfield had early doors. So for the football he played, I'm quite comfortable giving him 8s.
Yeah, I would happily give him a high score. Yeah. And then you think too that him, Shiel, Draper, and then Ridley later in the year are pretty 4 fairly senior important players in that team.
Yeah, not that we're going to make excuses, but it's important to remember.
It's important to try and understand what went wrong. And I think there are many things that went wrong. Yeah. But part of that is that we did lose some important players.
And what it's telling us then is we need depth. There's some issues with depth that we need to
because we didn't have any. No one from the VFL was starring. Apart from Voss. But our VFL team was very ordinary too. Yes.
Anyway. Rating for Setterfield for you,
couple
please. Couple eights. Righto. Is that 2 fat ladies in bingo? Is that what 8s?
It is. 2 fat ladies.
Jesus, that's obscure knowledge. All right. Take it. Probably not PC in 2023, but anyway.
That's right. Move on.
All right, Will Snelling. Speaking of jam tins.
Cannot kick over 1.
D-list for mine.
Yeah.
If we get that out of the way nice and early.
That's pretty brutal. We haven't said that about any other player. Even Kelly, we didn't.
Oh, fuck him off. That went without
saying. What's
his
contract status?
Out of contract.
Out of contract at the end of this year. Yeah.
That's why I say it.
Boom. Yeah.
So 15 games, 3.1 tackles. I mean, that is when he's at his best, but it's not often enough.
Which is above average for his role.
11 touches at 75%, and he kicked 6 goals. I think you mentioned this possibly in the podcast after the Collingwood game. We just got a bit sick of in Guelphy, out Snelling, in Snelling, out Guelphy. Snelling is the sub. Guelph is not the sub, but I just don't see the value in Snelling anymore. And we talked just then about Setterfield. If he's playing, yes, they're incredibly different heights. But
27, isn't it?
As we've established, they're both kind of tackling midfielders / Snelling's probably a forward. So,
but Snelling doesn't kick many goals.
I don't know
half a goal a game is not.
Yeah, I don't know what value we get from Snelling anymore. I don't know if he's worth holding his depth. So maybe deal list was a little bit harsh because you do.
Well,
need
probably
depth,
VFL and depth. I probably. But what would you offer him? Like a 1 year contract, 2 year contract?
Yeah, 1 year on 1 year. You're not offering the.
What was he? 20? He's 26. Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't. The value. What does he bring to the team?
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see anything.
And in saying all that, I don't think he's played bad this year. Like I wouldn't say.
There was one point where I called him a barometer.
Yeah,
we were better with him in the side. That was like Melbourne game sort of region.
But he's just nothing special. Like he's just
2 3/4 out of 10. I don't know why I've just all of a sudden decided to go to percentages.
Go 7, but no.
7, no, fuck. What?
No, okay, sorry, 2 3/4.
No, you go 7. You can be wrong.
No, I wasn't going to go 7. I was only kidding. Probably a 5 for me. As I said, I don't think he was bad in the games he was in, but I just don't see the point of him. He's another one I put in that we've got to replace him.
In a football sense, yeah, agreed. I'll bump mine up to a 3. You can have the extra 0.25.
Yep.
Moving on then to the big weed. Sam Weideman.
Yes, I know who you
meant. 16 games. Again, that's a surprise to me, looking at that number. Kicked 15 goals. And, I mean, that's all you can really talk about. Tackle, 9 disposals. Had a really shocking run of form that saw him fall out of the side, and then he started playing defence in the VFL. So... And excelling in that defensive role.
Great numbers, too. If you look at his numbers in
marks,
the VFL.
Massive amount of marks.
And again, so what fascinates me is that he played VFL backline, gets a call up to the seniors. Where do they play him?
Forward. I will say, though, he looked a lot better. He was up the ground. He was taking the marks. I think he had one shot at goal and completely messed it up. But
yeah. Well, the last game he had, he took, marks was 5, which is very good.
Well, that's decent,
yeah.
So, interesting to see what happens next. He's one of those ones that didn't really cost us anything, so I'm not too upset if it works out or not. I like him. I like him in the side. I don't think he ever played the role he was brought in to play because Pete...
I thought he was going to do more rucking, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was meant to be the forward ruck, but then Pete got injured and it all kind of went tits up. So,
yeah, but even towards the second half of the year when Pete was playing, they stuck with Phillips and Peter. They stuck with Andrew and
Nick.
Which, like, at that point, that's when I was really confused. I thought, why don't we play Weideman and, like, maybe Phillips, whatever, I don't care, and then make Weideman just ruck for that 10 minutes a quarter and come in and bust his and get him into the game, and then I don't know. I really struggled with some of our decisions this year, and Scott tells us it's been a 12 months where he gets to look and make his decision.
What I was going to say.
I was like, nah, I don't know what you're looking at.
You've got to wait until next year then to judge him too harshly. I'll give Weed a 4, slightly below what I would have expected, probably.
Well, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't expect he was turning into a Peter Wright.
No.
But you're right. I probably a 5 for me. I thought I think he's an important cog in the team, but he needs to improve some things. And between him and Jones, we need that role. Like, we need a guy who can get up to the wings, and as I was talking about, take those marks, and he can do that. He shouldn't be the guy deep forward. That's Peter or Langford or Stringer if he's playing. Like, that's their 30-meter arc. You just stay in that freaking spot. They're the old plugger type. Just stay down there, and we'll get it to you.
Yeah. What'd you give him? Sorry?
5.
5. Okay. Yeah. Very good.
I thought it was okay. I don't. Sorry.
I just wrote the number, and you keep.
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on.
Anything else to add on Weideman there? No? Okay. Very good. Dylan Shiel.
This is a tricky one.
Now, I'm going to go some really positive stuff here. Setterfield that I just talked about. So, I've got the numbers for Dylan Shiel in the same game. So, this was, again, a little bit evident in watching that third quarter against Collingwood where I went, shit, Shiel was 100% whipping boy. We all sort of hammered in on some aspects of his game, but not as impressive as Setterfield, his numbers, but you look at it and go, well, okay, against Hawthorn, he had 23 touches, 8 score involvements and 2 clearances without kicking a goal.
Yep.
Gold Coast, 27 touches, 5 score involvements, 7 clearances and 2 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Against Melbourne, 28 touches, 9 score involvements and 7 clearances. Against Collingwood, 19 touches, 6 score involvements, 4 tackles, 4 clearances. And these are the games that we sort of think we played the best football.
Yep.
Against, well, I mean, Hawthorn and Gold Coast, not so much. Melbourne and Collingwood, very good opposition. You may ask a question.
Do you think he's playing good football? And in that, do you think when he's playing good football, it's helping the team, or he's just playing good football because the team's playing well?
The first one.
Yeah. I think it's the other way around. I think he plays good football when the team's playing well. He's not the sort of guy who plays a good game when we're playing shithouse, he's not like racking up 30 touches and trying to drag us along. Like,
that's fair.
He's more of the guys, everything's going right. I'm not getting tagged. Everything's cruisy. I can do my thing.
When we had a full complement who were playing good football, he was a good player in that side. So,
when was that last year?
No, when we had a full team, as in we didn't have Setterfield out, we didn't have
year.
Draper out, we didn't have Ridley out, like all that, and then he got injured. So, I think, and this is recency bias in the sense that I haven't seen him play for a little while. But
we played those first 12 and then a couple after that.
I think we missed a bit of his explosive sort of nature out of
the clearances.
Stoppages.
Yeah, and I think that's what Hobbs and Caldwell probably don't have is that pace out of there.
So, in terms of actual numbers...
doesn't like to get dirty.
Across this. That's fine. Not every single player has to get dirty.
Little bit dirty?
A little bit. Just slide on your knees just to
just
get a bit of dirt.
Try and get the shorts dirty.
Roll in the mud.
Yeah.
12 games, 3.2 average tackles, 18.7 disposals. It feels weird giving point decimals anyway. 71% efficiency, and he managed 6 goals. And I'm interested to see how he comes back because I agree with what you say that maybe he is just good when we're playing well. That's a perfectly reasonable statement, but I'll go a cautious 7.5.
I'll probably go a bit less. I'm probably a 6.
Okay, fair enough.
I think when you look at his numbers, a lot of them are below average this year compared to other years.
Yeah.
And I agree that those games you mentioned, he was very good. But this going back to that early point, that you can't just play good footy when we're teams playing well. You have to, as a guy who's played 10 seasons in the AFL, he has to turn up and play good footy in every game he plays, unless he's injured.
Yeah, agree with that.
He doesn't do that enough, and that shits me.
Okay, fair enough. Right, Hobbs, the Goblin, they call him. Probably stiff that he missed out on our most improved conversation we had at the end of part 1.
Oh, yeah, true. I feel that could have been one I should have said.
Could have been one. Yeah, you listed the whole fucking list except for Hobbs. He played 18 games, 4 tackles, 20 touches at 72%, and 6 goals, 3.4 clearances on average. And that was 1 centre and 2.4 stoppage, which is interesting because stoppages is generally where we're a bit lower. Yep. I should have said on Shiel too, 3.4 average clearances.
Which is very good. He nearly led the AFL last year, didn't he, in clearances?
Centre clearances specifically.
Yeah. So, look, I just want that to turn up more often.
Okay, Hobbs. We're talking about Hobbs. So, massive year of growth. For him, the first couple of games we talked about were a bit not sure.
It's a bit scratchy. Well, and that, in his defence there, he's playing as a forward. We came to the conclusion early he's not a very good forward because he doesn't have
He doesn't have 2 feet,
Yeah, he can't swing around on the other foot and do something special. He's like, oh, I'm in trouble.
No, but what he did end up doing by playing in the midfield for pretty much the rest of the season was win his own ball,
stick his head over it,
tackle, chase.
Yep.
Hard as nails. Got tackled a lot, yeah. I did say at one point there's rules for Essendon players with holding the ball, there's rules for opposition, and then there's rules for Ben Hobbs. He got pinged in one game so harshly 2 or 3 times, and I felt sorry for the guy. But I don't mind that because when you talk about Laverde and giving away free kicks, it's just dumb footy sometimes. With Hobbs, it was a desire to get the football.
Yeah, he was trying to get the ball off the ground and pick it, and he was getting sat on, and they were calling that hold the ball.
Forgive that. All right, you want to win the footy. Fine. Work it out.
Was Laverde's trying to take out their legs.
Figure out how you can win the footy maybe without giving away the free kick, but I'll never be upset. If he does it for the next 5 years, okay, I might be a bit upset. But I'm not upset that he's trying to do that and giving away free kicks. It's fine. It's quite incredible that was his second season of footy.
Yep.
So again, I think for, pound for pound, what we expect, what we get, I think very good year.
Yeah, look, positives is his second year, he's played 18 games. We saw a lot of really, really good moments. And that, we talk about that too, don't we? You want to see something, and we saw lots of that, lots of times with Hobbs. So massive. I'd give him an 8.5 because he's going to be a very good player, 200 plus player for us, 200 game plus. So
I'll give him 8.6 just to be better.
Yep. No, I'm not putting 0.6s in there, mate. You get an 8 or an 8.5
or a 9.
9.6.
Fair enough. All right. I'll take that notice.
Grow up my whole database.
Right. That will take us on to the captain. The captain, Zach.
I'll just fill out a 10 right now.
Don Pod
Pretty
Best and
straightforward.
Fairest. Don Pod Best and Fairest winner 2023. All Australian for the third time. Not the captain though. Captain of Essendon, but not captain of. Yep.
I made that mistake. Yep.
22 games of football this year, averaging 5.5 tackles, 29 disposals, as good as 74% efficiency, 8 goals, 4.7 clearances. Pretty much 2 centre clearances, 2 stoppage clearances, which is on par with the likes of Zach Butters and Nick Dacos, and actually better than Jordan Dawson. I don't have the words, I don't have the vocabulary to really emphasise how much I love this man. We mentioned it in part 1, his tackle on Ali Raliu in that Port game.
Yep.
The effort, the will, the desire to win and to make an impact, and Dreamtime where he chased down Dusty. He gave Dusty like a 10, 15 metre head start and affected the kick. That sort of shit just happened all the time. And he had a couple of quieter games towards the end of the year where he might have been tagged out of it, but then we had Darcy Parish pop up with 40 touches.
Yeah.
So I didn't think he had a lot more improvement in his game, but he made captain and just
stood up,
blew my socks off.
Yep. And I agree. I when he was named captain, I was a bit.
Yeah, we both were. That was the easy choice, is what we felt.
Yeah. I don't know who the hard choice was. But he revelled in it. He made it his own. And if we talk about the club needs professionalism, there's one guy I want driving that, and that is him.
Yeah.
He's the sort of guy that, from everything you read, turns up to training early, stays late, works hard, talks to everyone, He's not the most charismatic sort of guy or anything like that, but he gives his heart and soul to the club, and that shows in 3 All-Australians.
90% lead by example.
Yep.
Follow
Which
me.
I'm fine with.
Yep.
10. Do as I do.
11 out of 10. I couldn't have asked for any more.
And if you look at all his numbers, he's elite in a lot of things. So that means he's a top 10 player, in that sort of disposals, kicks, handballs. He's above averages in everything else. Like, he is one of the best players in the competition.
Yeah, and rightfully got an All-Australian.
Yep.
And I'm kind of comfortable in the fact that he won't poll the most amount of votes in the Brownlow, so we won't have to cry over the fact that tackle got him suspended.
All right, though. Crazy things have happened.
It would break my heart if he won the Brownlow and was ineligible because of that.
Oh,
that would hurt me more than Job.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yep.
11 out of 10. Love you, Zach.
Still a 10. Can't do it.
Okay. Right, that was nice and easy, actually.
Well, not much to say.
Just fucking amazing. The man next up will be Jai Caldwell, who played 21 games of football, 4 tackles, 18.5 disposals, 71% efficiency, 11 goals, including 2 very freakish ones against St Kilda early doors, and then couldn't kick one from straight in front the week after, I seem to recall. 3.3 clearances, 1.1 centre, and 2.2 stoppage. Became a little bit of a human meatball kind of vibe about him. Wrecking ball crashing in. Kicked what should have been the winning goal against Port, where Water Girl came on smiling, and it would have been a bit... Anyway, whatever. Thanks, Dan Houston. Another... Probably would have got a little bit more game time than Hobbs in that scenario of getting games because others missed. But another benefactor of that scenario. Got a lot of pure midfield time.
Yep.
And worth remembering, Caldwell is only 21, 22 as well.
Yep, and just on that, so in the last 2 years, so the 3 previous years, he played 2, 9, and 3 games.
Very injury prone, yep.
In the last 2 years, he's played 20 and 21, and that's the really big improvement. If we can keep seeing that, and he's keeps playing the way he's playing, then yeah.
See, we're not all bad with our injury management.
No, we've actually got a player from another club and made him better.
Yeah.
To you, Brisbane.
That, GWS.
No, well, more Brisbane, because, they said we couldn't do it.
Oh, I see, but he came from the Giants, yeah.
Yeah. I get your point.
I don't want to hate on GWS. I quite like them.
Good theme song.
And
I will also say, so again, this year he had his best years stats-wise.
Yeah.
So all these high numbers, best, possessions, goals, all that sort of stuff happened this year. So this year's been his best year.
Yep.
They're the sort of things where, we want to keep seeing that up trajectory on our players, because too long we've seen players go.
Yeah. I remember him so vividly in that Port game at the G in the wet, just being tough as it gets. He was, Is
that the one he kicked a couple from the bound? Like the
no, that was St Kilda early in the year.
Yeah.
But he
just
set
kicked
shot.
miraculous goals in that game. Yeah.
He kicked the set shot against Port right in front of me. And again, what should have been the winning moment. But hey,
no, he's a super player. Really keen on him.
Really happy with him.
Yep.
8 out of 10.
He can get it. I'll give him a 9.
Okay, you can do that. Champion. Next on the hit list is number 5, Elijah Tsatas.
You did that.
That was low-hanging fruit. 4 games at the end of the year after injury kept him out for the first half, and then came back with probably 5 or 6 in the VFL, and then 4 in the AFL. Just shy of 3 tackles, 16 touches at 70%, and he managed the 1 goal against the Roos in our final win of the season. It ended up being. And he actually managed close to 2 clearances a game, which mostly stoppage clearances because he barely got in the middle. But interesting one. I have waffled first every time, so I think you can take the lead on Elijah.
Well, okay, so he had that one really, really good game. The last game play was pretty ordinary. If we look at his VFL stuff, where we see a little bit more data too, we see a few games in the 30 possessions and then a few in the high 20s where he looked, he played really well. So if we take that as, goals. So if you take that as, injury, got into the VFL, really built that up, and then he jumped into the AFL environment and he played like a few games where it was, first game he didn't do a lot, and then sort of second game he had a rip snorter against North and then faded off against GF, and he was fine against Collingwood, to be honest.
Yeah.
So he butchered a couple of balls that everyone thought he can't kick now. Talented young kid, can't say too much about him. Played 4 games.
We talked about that against Collingwood, the kicks where he just bit off far too much. Absolutely not a reflection of his kicking ability. At this point in time, I did have some little question marks just around the penetration of his kicks. It looks quite delicate.
They do look a loopy,
but the accuracy of them going inside 50, particularly his first couple of games. Again, vividly remember him hitting Guelphy, who promptly dropped the mark.
No, that was horrible.
With a gorgeous little kick inside 50. So that's what I think we're going to get. It won't be that big, long, booming kicks. It'll be more the delicate.
Yep, I agree. Score? I'm going to give him 5.
Yeah, 5 in the middle. And that's not
just
to say he wasn't great. It's just we didn't have a big sample size.
No, he didn't fail and he didn't pass. He just...
Well, he probably, I'll go 5.5. He probably just passed if you're going to criticise harshly.
Okay.
All right, you do that. Sunshine. Number 4, one of the feel-good stories of the year across the AFL. Named in the All-Australian squad of 40. Our number 4, Kyle Langford, 23 games, the only one other than the other 5 to play every game. I'm going to keep saying it.
Great stat.
Yeah, it was really good. Really well thought out, I thought. And the only number that really matters here is that he kicked 51 goals.
It's amazing.
At an average of 2.22 a game. Doesn't seem to win a lot of his one-on-ones, but he doesn't have to because he gets separation from his opponent.
Yeah, you're right.
I'd love to know a number.
7.
Thanks. All right, call it there.
There's the number.
The amount of times it was goal Kyle Langford, assist Nick Martin.
Yes, actually, they were pretty good at feeding each other.
I love Langers. I've always loved Langers. I always thought he was critical to us improving as a football club. For the first couple of years, he just looked like Job. The way he moved with the number 4 on the back, the strong through the hips, the fat ass. I mean, yeah, strong through the hips. But his set shot is lovely. He doesn't generally miss when he's got the easy shots, which is what you want. Do the simple shit and do it well.
Yep.
And as we said earlier, if we can get, 80, 90 plus goals between him and
Peter
next year, sorry, yes, forgive me. We're doing very, very well. But to get 51 goals out of Kyle Langford's incredible. 10 out of 10.
I will be the first to say that I didn't know his position. At the start of the year, I was
no one did.
At the start of the year, I was like, he's not good enough to be in the 22. Because my argument there was that I thought Martin was a better winger.
Yep.
And probably Durham, I liked what he brought. And the other issue with Langford is that this is the first time in his career he has played 20 games in a season.
Yes.
Now, I think that what's helped is playing the role. He's not on the wing running up and down and busting hamstrings. That playing as a forward.
Yeah, and he's 193 or so centimetres.
It's a great height, great
reasonably
size.
Quick at that height.
Yeah, but
moves okay,
but because
strong.
he's got so much experience as a winger midfielder, that when the ball hits the ground, he's dangerous.
Yeah.
Like he beats people around the ground.
That goal he kicked against Melbourne, where he just absolutely disposed of Stephen May, who is
a good
very,
unit.
very, very good footballer. Very good defender. I love it. I love what he's bought. So
you can't like you now. What's the? And this is the plus we'll take out of this year is we found ourselves a second or third, whatever the situation is, tall. Forward. Don't know if it's a tall, but another forward.
It's taller than the mediums.
So Peter Wright and Langford now going forward are your number 1, 2. We need to find that third, that marking.
The hope is it's Weideman or Jones.
That's right. One of those need to be number 3.
Yep.
And then you can say, I need 2 smalls at least. And then I need that, midfielder that swaps, and goes midfield forward. And that could be Stringer, but it never will be.
No. Rating?
I'll give him a 10.
He's ballsy enough to go below 10.
Yeah. He's kicked 50 goals for the year.
I fully agree. I gave him a 10 as well.
It's hard not to.
Yep. All right, number 3, Darcy Parish.
DP3.
5-year deal, no longer a free agent, officially off the market.
Suck a dick. Opposition is ours.
Wow. One of the, I'd say, divisive players towards the end of the season.
His screen lights up in blue elites all over the place.
Yeah, so again, we've done this to death. We're not going to cover it too much now. You compare his efficiency to Bontempelli, to Petrarca, to all these great elite midfielders in the competition, and they will all tell you the same thing. His kicking
especially
efficiency,
the clearance ones, not the outside ones, not like the Nick Dacos, the Gouldens, and those guys that get a bit of outside.
Well, that's what I mean. Bont, Petrarca, Oliver.
Yeah, Laird.
None of them are particularly high efficiency.
Where he loses to those probably his tackles. He's probably not up there in the tackles with those guys.
No, but his clearance
and that's where
numbers,
you can have a knock on his defensive size. He needs to improve that. 100%. Support that.
But his clearance numbers, he's number 1 at the Essendon Football Club for centre and stoppage clearances, and obviously then overall clearances. Sorry, Bontempelli averages 7.6 clearances per game. At Darcy Parish 7.7.
Suck on that.
So that's the company. He's in terms of winning the football. Someone we all very readily admit is a fucking good footballer. Bont.
And guess what? To win games of football, you need to get the ball out of the midfield and get it forward. Yep. Sometimes those kicks don't hit the chest, but you got to work on that shit. That's fair enough.
This is the other
you can
thing.
Still, if you're inside the 50, you can then have the ball down your end and shit happens.
This is the thing, right? What you probably, if you watch Bulldogs with Bont winning the ball that often, whatever, those other midfielders, Petrarca, Melbourne, their ability to keep the ball inside 50 once that sort of dodgy kick goes in there is a lot higher than what we're dealing with. Exactly. That's probably where we fall down a little bit.
And that's partly our small forwards not doing their job. Guys like Guelfies and Davey and, and probably a bit on Menzies too.
Yep. If we ended up in a scenario where Das is getting the ball and giving it out to Martin, who's then making that kick inside 50, that's a better option.
Well, we
because
see it all
Mardo's
the time
got a
with
very
him.
good kick inside 50. But
We see it all the time with him giving it to Merrett.
Yeah.
Like him and Merrett.
Merrett's a very good kick inside 50 too. Yeah,
But he gives the ball a lot to Merrett.
But that's what I mean. That's
That's what I'm saying. I agree.
Very idealistic though. You're not always going to be able to do that.
No.
And then if it is
Sometimes he has
Das
to do it
that's
himself.
kicking, and if it is the kick is a little bit wayward, whatever, well then it's our ability to hold the ball inside the forward line, not
Exactly.
Parish's ability to kick.
The other option is people were talking about, well, Hobbs could, take the role. Hobbs is still only into his third season. He's not ready for that responsibility.
No.
He's 2 years, maybe 3 years
Parish
away from
was
that.
drafted in 2015. Hobbs was drafted in 2021.
Yeah, Parish is 26. He'll be 27 next year. He's prime. His 5-year contract now. We'll see him possibly go closer to Brown, though. If he plays 23 games in a season, he will be top 3 in a Brownlow.
He's already been top 5.
Yep, I can guarantee it. He gets the footy. He does great things. Umpires like the way he plays. Coaches like the way he gets about it. And he's professional in his approach.
Yep. I get the frustration. I do. I understand it. But look at the forwards. Look at the forwards' ability to keep the ball inside 50 and not be outmarked and all that. Yeah, if he's kicking it straight down the opposition's throat, it's a bit different. It's a bit frustrating. But again, across the board, he's no different to other elite midfielders in the comp. So get a dog up, yeah.
Elite at clearances. We need that.
Yes, ability to win the ball, first and foremost. I'll give him a 9.
Yep, I'm happy with that. I'll roll with you.
I think
Why would we separate now?
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Right, next on the list, we're getting towards the very end now, is Big Sammy Mimi Draper.
Mimi?
Meme. He's a meme. If ever you wanted a man to encapsulate the joy,
the spirit
in football, that is Sam Draper. 14 games of football, he does. But he's very good at football. Don't try and swing it around on me, please. 14 games this year. You can try off. 57% efficiency, but that's just Sammy for you. 3 clearances a game he gets himself, which is very good for a ruckman to be able to win their own ball. It's not super high numbers, but it's good.
Yep.
Just the 14 games, went out probably from the bye. No, it was the week before the bye or the bye, week after. One of them.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you.
And we struggled probably in that department. I think, as we touched on a bit earlier, Phillips and Brian were...
After 13, round 13 was...
I think round 13 was the
before, yeah.
Okay. Brian and Phillips were serviceable for sure, but I think we missed Big Sammy.
Yeah. Well, it's what he brings to the table.
It's the excitement,
crashes through
and the
players
enjoyment, too. And he kicked 3 goals in the first half against Melbourne. I was watching that before. And he kicked that third one was a running snap from 30, 40 out, and he celebrated. And it's infectious. Does it at the right times. Doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's the sort of guy you want to play with. Like
Energy,
he would be, like he'd be exciting because he bulldozes through players. Kicks goals. He jumps around when he's up and about. You're like,
Goal of the year last year.
Yeah, let's
has
get on
ability.
this. Let's ride this coattail. Like he is fun.
Yeah.
So.
Probably the knock would be hit outs to advantage, particularly earlier in the year.
Yeah, 6.1 is not horrible. It's around the average.
I feel like it got better. So early in the year, it was a lot of hit outs, but straight to Oppo or not necessarily useful to our midfielders. But that improved, and he's still quite young.
24. How many games of footy all up?
No, he only really came into the team a couple of years
57.
ago. Yeah, okay. So,
that's pretty immature still in that world.
Yeah, and Ruckman are 26, 27 peaks. So
his next 2 years, big years.
Who doesn't love Big Sammy? Hard to give him a high score because of the games he played, but I'll go 7.
I'll go an 8 because those 12 or 13 that he played, he was one of our better players. I thought a lot. Sometimes he got a bit of a pantsing, but his injury is again fucking interesting because it was.
He came back and then
he's still injured, and he looked disgusting in that GWS game. Like he just didn't look himself. He didn't have that. I won't go into it, but I don't know what he played. Yeah. Look, very important part of our future. He is really, really important.
And Ross Lyon didn't want to come to Essendon because of the vibes. Sam Draper is the vibes. He is the Essendon Football Club. Love him.
Yeah.
Right, that was a poetic ending to that. Last player on the list is Pidge
And controversial too.
Andy McGrath. Yeah, weird one. I'm going to struggle to talk about him. Played all 23 games. I won't make the same joke again. I'll move on from that.
One more time. It's only the last time you can do it.
Yeah, only one. No. 80% disposal efficiency, which, again, numbers versus eye test, that's what he gets knocked on, is his disposals. Yeah. I will say, though, that over 40-metre kicks are effective disposals, so that's possibly where that might come from.
Again, not a deep kick. He's another one of our
non-penetrating.
I don't think he can't kick. Like when he kicks out, sometimes I get a bit nervous because they always drop short, and the opposition I think are aware of it and mark it in front of our tools. Yeah, anyway,
just below 23 touches on average, 5.7 intercept, which is actually our second best. Third best after Ridley and equal Ridley and Laverde, and one of about 5 or 4 players that didn't kick a goal in the season. So trade him immediately. Loses 1 in 5 of his defensive one-on-ones as well.
Those numbers tell me he's good or bad. I can't remember now.
Well, he loses 21%.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Early in the year, this is again important to remember, he was a very, very capable small defender. I think he played on Bobby Hill on Anzac Day, and we were frothing at the mouth because Bobby Hill is the kind of guy that normally has a day out against Essendon.
Yep.
And Pidge was very effective. I think it was another Charlie Cameron when we played Brisbane. Brisbane thumped us by 7 goals. Charlie Cameron didn't kick a goal. And that was Pidge. So very effective as a lockdown. I can respect that. But he didn't seem to be playing that role come the end of the year.
No, he's playing very much more of a loose sort of running defender, which we were frustrated by.
His kicking is quite wayward.
Well, I felt that, and you and I probably talked about this, is that we need a lockdown defender. Kelly can't do it. I don't give a fuck what we brought him to the club for, but he cannot do it. He's useless at it.
So bad.
So I think sometimes you have to rub a bit of Peter to, slap a bit of Paul, and to get him to play that role, we need to lock down. And you just go out and like Massimo D'Ambrosio or Redmond are the guys that can.
We've got options.
And Hind are the guys that can play that. I mean, we know we've talked about Hind, but I think McGrath's real strength is his one-on-ones. He's got great strength. He's strong in the hips. He can really hassle small forwards. He's got really good pace.
We do not have a small defender to play on small forwards.
No, and it's been an issue for years. Kelly was meant to solve the problem. He maybe did in his first year, but I don't think he does it anymore. So I would like to see him play more of that role. And I think we got frustrated with the role, not the player, I think.
Victim of circumstance. I've said that about a few of them.
Yeah.
And I can accept that is Brad Scott feeling it out. I can cop that.
But what year was never meant to be about making finals. Plays that role more next year. So Scott's had 12 months to look at him, and he thinks his best role is that run and carry off halfback.
I'd be surprised.
Want him if he does, though?
We're not coaches, right? So we can sit here and say he was far more effective as a lockdown defender. But you kind of have to accept that if he still gets played as that rebound, he's giving something. There's something that he's doing that we're not seeing. I will say he's out of contract at the end of next year and will be a free agent. So we're coming up to an interesting time in the life of Pidge McGrath. Been a lot of talk recently too, if I can just change the subject ever so slightly, around that draft.
Yeah.
And the fact that it wasn't great.
No.
As a draft, McCluggage went 2 and 3. It was actually Taranto that went 2.
He's a very good player.
Well, Taranto, I think, was GWS Academy.
We couldn't get him.
Would have gotten him.
Yeah, no one could get him. He was GWS, and McCluggage.
And McCluggage is good in a good side, so it's probably hard to read.
But I don't think McCluggage is great.
Well, but he's in a good side. I think that's the key. He's a very...
McCluggage is more of a midfielder too.
Well, that's what Pidge was meant to be.
But we tried that, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, interesting one. I don't want to be too harsh because I was very impressed with him doing those lockdown roles. And he got votes. Like, we gave him a couple of best ons early in the year.
Yeah, I remember that. Because we like that. We like that. We like a defender that can defend. Like, it's a crazy concept. Just fucking defend sometimes.
Yeah. Round 6 and round 9, he got
Don't need you bursting off the half back all the time. Sometimes we just need to stop scoring. And as you say, Sam,
Defenseman's premierships.
Mm.
Get it tattooed right here. Right on the forehead.
maybe on the neck.
Yeah, all right.
Neck tattoos are
Right.
pretty cool.
I'm not sure what I want to score him as.
Oh, it's about a 7 for me, 6 or 7.
Yeah, I was going to go 6. So I'll go 6.5.
Yep, fair enough.
A little bit better
As we
than
talked about.
average, but not brilliant, but not poor either, I don't think. Across the board, looking at the whole season.
I don't know, as a victim of circumstances is I think a good expression for what we because early in the year he was playing some really good footy with that lockdown role.
Yeah.
But then when he played that more of a running back, it was a bit ugh. But you're right. We're not coaches, but we just see what we see and think that's better or worse. And we can't help that. That's what we...
To be fair, is what we're here for. So that's fine.
That's why so many people listen.
Well, with lots, yeah. You say that.
Million!
It actually is thousands at the moment, which is kind of mental.
Mm.
All right, that brings us to the end of the playing group. We did leave.
We do the coaching
Stewart.
group.
We did leave Stewart out of our part 1 discussion around players that didn't play games of football this year, but we should talk about it anyway. He's been delisted. Who cares?
Interesting.
Weird to delist a bloke who's got 1 year in a contract who is tall.
Because we're short at all.
Yeah.
I reckon it screams of either he's got injury issues because he hasn't played a lot of footy. Like in the last 2 or 3 years, injuries have affected him. Or he maybe just got personal issues that I don't think. Oh, I won't say that because I would hope that if he's got personal issues, it's too hard to fuck him off.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be doing that part.
No, but I think he's been injury prone. He's fairly old.
He's talking about wanting to go on. There was comment made around that.
Yeah, definitely wants to play. Yeah, and he probably could be a good guy, like a good player at Melbourne as a backup or Collingwood as a backup defender. You know, like I still would have liked to have seen him play defensive roles for us. He's a 199. He's a big unit. Can mark.
Well, that's what he was.
Yeah.
And then he just wasn't anymore.
Yeah. And again, the number of times this year guys were playing in a role in the VFL and then were not playing that same role in the AFL, I don't understand. I don't understand the point of the VFL if you're going to do that.
All right, we're going to look in our little crystal ball now. It's just off camera. You can't see it. No, down here. Yeah. That's it. We're not going to go too much into detail because we will do a far more in-depth sort of look in February, March before the season starts next year. But I want to know what love is. I want to know what you think in terms of 11 wins this year from 23. So it's that 23 games are slightly different. But 11 wins has gotten us into finals before. The year we lost to the Bulldogs, we have won 11 games of football.
I'm happy we're not playing finals.
So that's the question. Some interesting context. Possibly needed to be 12 given the extra game, but we'll never know. What do you, in terms of wins, we're in that middle bracket of 6, so we will get a harder draw by comparison to this year.
Which is good. We need to play harder draws.
So I'm going to ask you a question with an answer, essentially.
Okay.
Would you be happy with the same? If we get to end of 2024 and we've won 11 games with a harder draw, acknowledging that this year we still played Collingwood twice, we played Brisbane in Brisbane, we played Port Adelaide twice.
I guess the question you're asking is, do you think we'll improve much next year? No. I think that we could even slide a little next year. I wouldn't want us to, but I reckon I'm interested to see, like, there's a lot of out of contract, like if BZT goes and Baldwin goes.
Oh yeah, well, we're in trouble.
And we don't get Mackay, so just in that world, I don't know who the fuck we're going to have defending the backs. Like, seriously, I don't know who's playing that role. We better pray to God that Reed gets himself right and that Hayes maybe pulls himself out of that. Or otherwise, we're getting another 22 games from Laverde, which will be fucking unreal.
Can't wait.
Callie will play every game too.
No, don't.
No, well, that's what else?
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to think about that right now.
Yeah, look.
All right, so I'm going to rephrase the question because I want to build a bit of hype, just a little bit.
I've done that wrong, haven't I?
You have. No, but we didn't talk about that. That's fine. So I probably agree. I would be disappointed if we went backwards, but happy to be the same based on the fact it's a harder draw. I'd take that. My question that I want to maybe go a little bit more positive thinking.
Yep. What
are the reasons that we can improve? So where are we getting that native or natural improvement from?
Well, that's a better question. I can answer that because I think that it's guys like, okay, first of all, it's Setterfield playing 22 games. It's Draper playing 22 games. It's maybe someone like Shiel playing 22 games. I don't know. Or it's the improvement from Hobbs, Caldwell, and Perkins again, playing that midfield role that pushes maybe someone like Shield. I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
It's Peter Wright kicking 50.
Or
it's Langford
playing a full season for
playing
Wright
full
too.
season, and kicking 40. Say, and Langford, if he can replicate 80% of what he's done this year and kicking say 35, then that's so it's things like that.
Without logic or without reasonable avenues to get them, if you could draft one player into that club to make us top 8, maybe pushing top 6. Again, no logic required.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It can be as outlandish as you want it to be.
Yep.
Who do you get?
Darcy Moore.
Yeah, okay. I like that question, and if you're listening, you'll sort of have a player in your head as I ask that question, because it kind of shows where you think we're at.
Yep.
What is the biggest hole we have? I've had this conversation with 2 other people. One of them said Bontempelli, which I can't grasp because midfield's not our issue.
No, he's very, very good.
He's a fucking good player, but it's not a desperate need for us at this point in time.
It's not the issue.
And another one said Curnow because he's
No, for me,
I'm with you. I said Darcy Moore, which we are on the same wavelength without playing this.
We're so boring. Why don't we do a podcast? We have the same thoughts.
Because that's what we are desperately in need of.
Sorry, people.
And the problem is going to be if we lose BZT, and as you say, don't get Mackay, that's where we're at risk of falling away.
Well, that's right. I mean,
if we do, well, then let's fucking do it properly and get another 1 draft pick for Christ's sake.
Well, let's hope it's a lot of tools next year.
Yeah.
I still hope that we can make some sort of deal. And I know we haven't talked about the elephant in the room, Dodoro, but I don't see the point.
No, it's no point.
But I mean, so I hope we can somehow get 2 picks in the first round. That's what I think we need to do because I don't know how we do that. I don't know enough about all those sort of things, like what we give up or, future first rounds or things like that. I don't know. But we need to sort of push our case this year as much as we can because we can't just keep looking to the future to get kids in. We have to try and say, okay, this is the group. Like Merrett's, 27, whatever. He's got 5 good years. Him and Parish got 5 good years of footy left in them. We need to find kids in that 5-year bracket that will be part of that premiership team. That while Merrett and Parish is 31-year-olds playing in grand finals. That'd be unreal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset or surprised if we go recruiting 1 or 2 in that 30 bracket because we're incredibly light on at that top end. And I reckon Brad Scott's the kind of coach who would want those players. You think of what North had at that time.
Yep. He was pretty ruthless too.
He was, but when they were 33, 34. Not.
Just on that, have you heard that Taron Thomas is someone that we're apparently...
Yes.
I don't like him as a person.
No, but bloody good footballer.
But it's the person that I'm not...
Well, Jake Stringer was questionable as a person with some other shit, not violence, but there were some other question marks there. Yep, so, if North have got him right, which they seem to have, he's playing good footy, he seems to be in a good space.
We've still got to go to court.
Yeah, but
anyway,
people are redeemable.
True.
And he's a very good footballer.
I don't like I know we need a bit more mongrel in our club.
That's not the answer, no.
I don't want a guy who's a nasty prick to women. If that's
obviously not.
No, that's not the point.
The player. Let's talk about the player. I'd have him.
But he's been charged with something, so that tells me there's something pretty serious going on.
But the player.
Yeah, but the player, he's a very good player. Yes. But that can't supersede.
No, I know. I'm just saying we probably only need to talk about the football and not what's going on.
But I think you have to bring both of them in. I think that you can't just say, let's get Taron Thomas in. Yeah. Well, you have to go, well...
Yes, the club will factor that in.
Yeah, yep.
But for us, we just say he's a good footballer.
Oh, he's a good football player, and he's been very influential in his second half of the season with North Melbourne. And he's been in the right age bracket. I guess he'd be a half forward midfielder.
Yeah, mid half forward. That's pretty accurate.
I don't think that's. I mean, we've got those players, but they're not great.
He wants to come to us.
Yeah, I still think we should be looking at.
He's 23 and 190 centimeters. So I mean,
he was that young.
And this is the thing about being a shit bloke, right? You don't excuse the behaviour at all, but
you can make mistakes.
You can be a cockhead of a young person, and again, not excusing it. But if we can get him in a good place, he accepts what he's done and can improve himself, well, then you'd get a bloody good footballer. That's my only point. All right, move on to socials, and that'll do us. We're closing in on the part 1 length. So again, just to reiterate, I asked you, the people on Facebook, the Don Pod, if you don't like us already, best win, best moment, worst loss, most improved, player that surprised you the most, who you think wins the best and fairest at the Don Pod, best and fairest, that is. We need to name it. Like the Crichton, but not the Crichton.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. We could name it the...
Not right now.
Okay.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say the... Phil. Phil?
The Phil.
Phil.
Who's Phil?
The Phil Phillips.
Oh,
award.
No. Okay.
Try
again.
The Phil from Tassie.
Try again. What you expect in 2024 as far as wins, ladder, position, etc., etc. So I'm going to talk a bit generally about this because there was a lot of the same sort of responses. A lot of love for the win against Carlton. A lot of love for Dreamtime. But the fact we beat a top 4 side in Melbourne, I'm firmly on that bandwagon.
Again, we agreed on that, like weirdos that we
are. A lot of the best moments were specifically Durham's goal against Richmond, Waller coming back for that game against Hawthorn. A lot of the worst loss or worst moment was Anzac Day, being run over the top in such a massive game, as well as the GWS thumping, if you can even call it that. Most improved, Ben Hobbs gets a fair bit of love.
We should have got. I missed that one.
Should have mentioned him the first time. I'll be the first to admit that.
I missed everyone else.
Most improved Langford got some love as well. Player that most surprised you, a couple said Setterfield.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Cool.
Hobbs got a mention rather. The other one, Don Pod Best and Fairest. This is what we're here for, really. Let's be honest. The Flip award. Merrett.
Most people said Merrett?
Everyone bar one, from what I can see right now. One person said Langford, who came third.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
No love for Rusty, though, I've got to say. Merrett or Langford. Yeah, interesting. And then and then the crystal ball for you people. You people, as in the people on Facebook. You people's not a nice thing to say. Just make finals 7th or 8th, says Peter. Jono, average year but win more games.
Just not fucking get flogged in the second last round by 130 points.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Arthur says he doesn't think we have the cattle to press for finals, so have us finishing about 10th. Cop that. I'd take that.
Yeah. Yep. I don't have an argument with not great cattle. I think we as we talk about, we praise our players.
Overestimate our list, yep. Matt reckons we'll make finals. Improve this year, and I think we'll improve by the same amount again. I agree with that, but we will get a harder draw.
Yeah. I don't think we'll get 5 more wins next year. Is that what you're implying?
We'll just not improve by the exact same, but we'll just improve.
But we won 6 last year or something, wasn't it? And we won 11.
Really, if improvement means we win 2 more games, then I guess we are in that finals conversation.
Oh, of course, if we win 2 more games, 13, then yes, we're in the 8 in any. Well, unless it's a 25 game competition next year.
I think Jack sums it up best, and I'm not just saying that because he finishes his comment with love the pod boys, keep it up. I honestly have no fucking FKN idea. Continual improvement on the game plan would be great. 7th to 13th on the ladder is what my inner pessimist is saying.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so, we talked about this. The first half of the year we were playing such good footy. Second half of the year we were playing such bad footy. the reasons behind that we need to understand. Was it a fitness issue? Was it a player list issue? Was it a coaching issue? Like things like Kelly playing on a fucking wing. If we can get a bit more of that insight, and I don't care who we were playing in that first 12, we beat some good teams and we played some good footy. Like we weren't disgusting. The games we lost even weren't like horrible.
It wasn't really until Giants and Collingwood.
Even didn't even get flogged by Geelong. It was only like 30 points.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, yeah. Last comment, last one I'll finish with. Ahmed says, what you expect in 2024? Langford winning, Colin. Anzac medal, Dreamtime medal, Coleman medal, Brownlow, Goal of the Year, Mark of the Year, MVP, All-Australian, Norm Smith, Premiership, and Best and Fairest. Fuck me, if you win all of them and don't win the Essendon Best and Fairest, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
I just hope Langford, it's not a one-off. That's my concern. Is it's been great, but
I think as long as his role stays the same, it won't.
Yep, he better kick. If his role stays the same, he's got to kick 35 plus goals again next year.
Yep, agreed.
And that's because
I'd say more than that. I'd say 40.
Well, you're right. I hope that can happen. But with Peter Wright, hopefully can kick 40 plus goals, and hopefully someone else can kick 30 plus goals.
I will.
You don the sash.
I'll put my hand up. Stick me in the goal square. I won't leave the goal square, but
God, why would you?
No, I'll just stay there. I won't even leave.
You
for
get
quarter
so
time.
many over the top goals.
I would. Great. I'd miss
every
single one. But
no, you'd get a few. They'd run you down all the time.
Thanks. On that note, I think that'll do us.
Any final thoughts?
I think it's really important to not judge the whole season on the last two games.
Yeah,
I was fuming and wanted to ruin the whole season based on those two for sure.
Burn it down.
Yeah, but we're not winning a flag next year. We're not winning a flag the year after. But then beyond that, we can start to think about 6, 4, and then beyond. The team's on that, too young still.
Yeah, we've got to have that focus, and we can't stop going back to the past and worrying about how wrong we've got it.
It's done.
Yeah, the past is the past. The decisions we have made were bad or good. They have got us to where we are. We can only make good decisions from here on in. People need to get over the fuck of what's happened and move forward, or otherwise we'll just never ever be better.
Yeah, correct. We seem to have
just let some shit go.
A president in place that wants to let the people in charge of the football club run the football club, CEO and coach. Listening to him on SEN this week. SEN?
Yep.
Yeah. I can't fathom Tim Watson's angle if you've heard that particular interview. I know I sent it to you.
Yep.
Just looking for a gotcha moment around Dodoro and all that. But we've got a guy who wants change. That was his whole premise of going for that position of president. He's got two people in there that he fully trusts to make that change. And I expect if that doesn't work out, well, it's his position that.
That's right. And people are going to say, we've heard this before. Of course you have. This is what you're going to get every time.
Yeah.
But at some stage, we have to think, at some stage it will change. They'll get it right.
Yeah.
And then the gears will just click over and all of a sudden it'll start to happen.
We generally agree that we've got a reasonable list of young players. And that's why we're not in the position to be playing in finals, because they're young and they're up and coming.
We're like bottom 5 for age and experience.
They're inconsistent. And I think you look at Adelaide, what Adelaide were this year, you look at them and go, right, next year they're in a massive conversation for finals.
Yeah.
Very attacking, reasonable defence, should have played finals, barring a dodgy umpiring decision.
Dodgy decision.
If that's us next year.
Hopefully not with the Sydney again.
Not missing out on finals because of a failed goal review, but just their percentage was 113 or something insane.
Yeah.
So clearly they're doing a lot of things right. So that's what I would like to see.
Yep.
That might do us. I think we'll, in terms of what's next, in terms of podcasts, I think depends really on what happens post-season. If there's enough to talk about, we'll come on and have a chat. If not, there's no real need to waste your time with a 3-minute conversation.
We need to have a break from the Essendon Football Club as well. Like we get
look
at this a lot.
Period.
We look a lot at the club, and over the last 24 rounds, we've looked and watched and gone through the pains and the emotional highs and lows. So we need to step away from that for just a little bit and have our time, mental health, and all that. But I would love to do one in a few more weeks, maybe after the finals, if the trade, when we hear some players come and go, if we get a big name player like a Mackay, that might be worth something we could talk about.
Quite literally what I just said, I think you'll find there.
Fine. Wrap it up.
If there's something to talk about, we'll do a pod. I think we'll do one more regardless because we'll want to have a look at the draft once that all happens anyway.
Yeah, of course. That's not till November though, isn't it?
No, but that's what maybe one more.
Yeah.
One more.
Yep,
right.
Sure.
Well, on that note, thank you for tuning in. If you are on YouTube and you want to hit that subscribe button, that would be much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, go Dons.
Go Bombers.